Enter, rejoice, and log in. Enter, rejoice, and log in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and log in.
Our service today marks the spring equinox. It doesn't mean that spring weather is here for good. It means that winter, in all her beauty and glory, is preparing to take leave of us. Her spell is breaking, even if we might get a little more of her ice or snow yet. But it is time, fully time, to celebrate that spring is waking up. Good morning, spring. The balance from cold to warm has shifted. Our theme today is balance, so balance we must. Oh well, it happens. Let's get on with the service. Maybe I'll have something to learn about balance.
The chalice is the symbol of our UU faith. If you have a chalice or a candle at home, it is time now to light it together. Please join me. We light this flame as a symbol of a new life enlightening our way, as a symbol of the warmth in every human heart. Let the lighting of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of hope, of peace, of love. May we share that light with all people.
Good morning. I am Marie Luna, your Director of Congregational Life. Thank you for being with us. It is so good to be together, even in this online format. If you are joining us from another Unitarian Universalist congregation, welcome. If this is your first time visiting the fellowship, I want to extend you a special welcome. We are so glad you are with us. I invite you to join me for a newcomer breakout after this service. Directions will be included later on in the service, or send me an email so I can help you get connected here. Today's service is being led and supported by Reverend Leah Angiri, our Associate Minister, Allie Peters, our Intern Minister, Dave Velguth, our Lay Worship Leader, Reverend Jim Coakley, one of our affiliated community ministers, Kim Hartman, our Director of Religious Education, Steve Seek, our Music Director, our wonderful musicians and singers, and Adam Robinson, our AV Tech. Thank you to everyone who has made this morning's service possible. This year, we are focusing on growing resilience. We're digging into what it means to grow ourselves and our community to be sources of life, even when things get tough. Right now, we are focusing on balance. It can feel hard in tumultuous times to find balance, but our goal will be to explore ways to create balance together. It is now time to settle into your space, wherever you are, to take a deep breath and be present to this time together, even from afar.
Good morning. In a moment, we get to hear our beloved fellowship choir sing the song, Morning Has Broken. As we listen and sing along with them to this song, the song that's about mornings and beginnings and the awakening of spring. I invite us all to get our bodies woken up as well with some morning stretches. Go ahead and give your body the gift of stretching in whatever way feels good to you. Let's let the muscles in our body sing this song along with our voices.
A lot like being in winter. Even if it's going to get warmer throughout the day, it often starts out cold because the sun hasn't had time to warm the earth yet. There's a lot to love and appreciate about winter, and this is an especially good time of year to name some of our favorite parts of the coldest, darkest season because it's fresh in our mind. After all, we've been living in it for months. Let's celebrate winter as it's on its way out, not to be with us again for a whole year now. I hope you will type what you like about winter into the chat now. And I'm going to read just a couple of the comments out loud. What are winter's gifts? Snow, sweaters, the silence after a good snow, quiet, bright whiteness, flannel sheets, resting for later growth, stillness. Thank you, winter, for your many gifts. We bless you on your way as we and the earth awaken to the coming spring.
Good morning, everyone. For me, March is often about transition from inside to outside for sports when March comes around, leaving the gym to the baseball field for pitching, fielding ground balls, and getting dirty. This year, I was unbalanced by the news that a childhood friend had passed away unexpectedly last week after we had reconnected after many years. My friend's passing allowed me to reconnect with friends from my Lutheran grade school days. I spent 8 years as a young classmate with these people and realized I missed them and should have tried to renew my relationship with them before a funeral brought us all together. In reading about life renewal, I researched rekindling old friendships and came upon an article by Genevieve Navalon titled Why Old Friends Are the Best of Friends. And she writes, according to research, preschool friendships are important in the development of social and emotional skills, which then contributes to our sense of belongingness that we carry well into adulthood. Childhood friends are important because they are our first social connections. Our interactions with them affect how we behave socially for the rest of our lives. In these ways, our early peer relationships help us establish social and emotional balance, which can help steady us for the rest of our days. Our childhood relationships are also our links back to our childhood selves. When we remember our childhood friends, we remember what it was like to be imaginative and innocent. When you become an adult and move into parenthood, looking back on your childhood friendships helps you navigate the complexities of parenthood. Maybe give that old friend a call, see how they're holding up. It might be time to reintroduce that friendship into your life as you open the next chapter on your life. As spring and summer approach and more people get vaccinated, we will all have the chance to move from a virtual, digital method of interacting with friends to once again be face to face with old and new friends. This too will be its own balancing act, and I look forward to reconnecting with people in person and am optimistic about the future.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be with all of you today, especially our young people and the young at heart. No matter how old we are, we always have things to learn and discover. And I think that's one of the best parts about being a Unitarian Universalist. We don't always have to know everything, and we can change our minds as we grow and as we find out new information. So right now, there is something inside our Wonder Box. I don't even know what it is. See, I don't have all the answers. Do you know what could be inside? Do you have any guesses? If you have a guess, go ahead and type it into the chat box, or you can ask your grown-up to type it. We'd love to see what you all think might be in the box today. So I'm going to give you all some time to wonder, and I'll just wait. The anticipation is killing me. I can't wait to see what all of you have guessed. But right now, I'm pretty eager to open it. I think it's time. Do you think you can help me out? Do you think you could give like a drum roll? Awesome. All right. Here we go. Okay. I'm a little confused. This one, today's Wonder Box, seems a little weird. I'll explain why. You see, in the Wonder Box, there was a book, but we don't have a story to read as part of the service today. At least I don't think so. If we did, no one told me. And I mean, this is a cookbook. The title of this book is Lydia's Common Sense Italian Cooking. Oh gosh. Okay. I have no idea what this has to do with anything that we're talking about today. We're not talking about cooking. We're talking about balance. I'm sorry. I can't for the life of me see what this book might have to do with balance. Do you have any ideas? Let's think. Here's an idea. Do you have a book somewhere around you? It could be any book. It doesn't have to be Common Sense Italian Cooking. Any book will do. Do you think that we could balance our books together? First, you have to make sure that it's okay with your grown-up. And then we all have to make sure that we step away from our devices. And we should check around to make sure that there's nothing around for the book to fall on, no one around to get hit by the book if it falls. That would not be good. And let's go for it. Okay, this is there we go. Sometimes it can feel like we have to balance a lot in life, right? We've got a lot of things going on. Like maybe for you, it's school and taking care of yourself and your loved ones with the virus that's going around, and getting enough sleep and finding enough time for fun and play and doing what your parents need you to do. It can be really hard to balance all of those things, right? But with this book on my head, I'm actually noticing that balance gets a bit easier if we're able to find a chance to pause and be still for a little while. And if we're able to pay attention to how we're feeling. Maybe we can all remember that as we try to balance whatever it is that comes up in life. Thanks for balancing with me, everyone.
We've been talking a lot about how the Earth's cycle is balanced between night and day during the spring equinox. But even though the amount of daylight may be balanced, the arrival of spring is different in all different places around the world. We live pretty far north in the northern hemisphere, so we often have ice and snow during the spring equinox, just like we did this week. But other parts of the world, where it's always much warmer, the outdoors can look a lot different than in Wisconsin. Maybe it's for that reason that many other places have these elaborate festivals and rituals outdoors to celebrate the end of winter and the beginning of spring. Well, I'm going to take you on a quick slide tour around the world so that you get an idea. And there's no good or bad, right or wrong. Just remember, it's all a beautiful balance, just like our Earth. Enjoy!
earlier in the service, but I had a really hard time balancing that dang plate.
Don't feel bad, Leah. It's kind of early in the morning. Plus, you've got a lot going on these days, so you probably don't have a lot of time to just practice balancing.
Yes, most of our friends and members should have gotten my email that I'm going to move across the country this summer. And then later in the fall, I'm going to end my fellowship ministry. It's been really, really busy lately for me.
Wow. Well, that's a lot to wake up to and then try to balance.
That is big news. Now I can guess what your reflection's going to be about later in the service. I was confused for a minute when I looked at the order of service because the usual categories of gathering, exploring, deepening, broadening are gone.
We're starting our balance theme by talking about how we relate to the weather as it comes and goes, in and out, around and around. A season cycle in and around, and so does time every year, and even in small ways. Even a day has its own cycle. So we're imagining this service as a complete day by starting with awakening and then moving to balancing and then reflecting and then closing by winding down. And guess what? We're even going to have a lullaby later.
Yeah, that's true, Jim. And this part of the service is all about balance. Hey, guys, I want to see if I can balance this pen. Do you want to try it with me?
Oh, I have a pen. I'm in.
Ditto. Maybe people will join us at home.
Okay, sounds good. All right, ready, set, go. Oh. Hey. Okay, that was easier than I thought it would be.
That might have been a little harder than I expected.
I guess that's balance for you. Keeping something steady when it wants to be in motion is kind of tricky, huh?
I guess that's why it's good to practice. After all, most of us will probably always be seeking balance in one way or another in life.
Hello, Spring. Welcome. We are so glad that you're here with us today. What do all of you like about this season? Type into the chat what you love about spring, and I will pick a few comments to read aloud. What do you appreciate about spring? Rebirth, the first crocus that pop up, robins, seedlings, fresh smells, the smell of mud, dry sidewalks that aren't slippy, more daylight, rain, flowers blooming, birds returning. Thank you, spring, for your many gifts. We revel in your growing presence.
What? What are you looking at?
Everyday life involves many feats of balance. I hope that you have heard by now about my own balancing act of sorts, which is that my family is relocating to Portland, Oregon this summer. If you missed it, let us know and we can get your information on file. My family is in Portland. It's my hometown, and my partner's next professional opportunity is there. This area has not been an easy place for us as a gay Black family. Much as we dearly love the fellowship and her people, it is right for us to leave. This fellowship has been a good home. You have offered us love and stability. You have been kind and generous to me. I've lived here over 9 years. It is unbalancing to begin the practical tasks of moving and the emotional work of uprooting where I have been planted. My leaving will upend the normal rhythm of fellowship life, not catastrophically, and definitely not fatally, but in some real ways. I certainly feel knocked off balance, and you might too. Or you might feel another unsettling emotion like fear or excitement or anger or some mix that could be hard to identify. Remember when I tried to balance a plate and it fell? That is the sort of situation where my rude inner perfectionist likes to pop up and inform me that everything really ought to balance tightly enough to prevent shifts and wobbles, and if anything crashes to the ground, even if it's not something that is actually breakable, then that is definitive proof of my complete failure. I don't know about yours, but my rude inner perfectionist is a big jerk. So I just thank her for that input and put her on mute. A more helpful approach to times of tricky equilibrium might be to consider that sometimes we are the item jostling for prime position amid the rub and pull of life's many movements. It can be precisely when we are in the throes of adjusting and absorbing to the ups and downs and side swoops that we are most likely to discover, with pride and delight even, that we are not bone-thin porcelain, destined to be abandoned on the high shelf, never allowed to be part of the party. We are, in fact, made for daily use, sturdy and virtually indestructible. Or so I have discovered, in a way. This past year, amid pandemic parenting, election unrest, and working from home, I felt like I was losing my spirit and humor. It made it hard to summon the courage I needed to face discernment, moving, and all the tender goodbyes we will need to say to one another. Not yet, but come November, I am going to serve you wholeheartedly until then. But the difficulty of COVID conditions and election season in Trump's America unbalanced me enough that it gave me clarity. My family needs this change. We're excited about it. The lack of balance that led to this insight was a threat, but it was also an opportunity to rediscover joy. I was able to gather the momentum necessary to launch. Balancing acts require our attention. After living here for a couple years, I observed to Marie Luna that Wisconsin winters slam into summer with no spring cushion. She countered that spring is its own unique season if you know how to recognize it. And finally, with a few more years of noticing under my belt, I can now describe the spring-specific, wet, heavy snow that melts sooner, and the watery slush that coats frozen ponds and puddles, eagerly sought for splashing by my kids and assiduously avoided by my cyclist partner. And the woodpeckers. I Googled, do woodpeckers peck all year? But I failed to come up with hard science to back up my certain belief that woodpeckers are especially loud in the spring, even accounting for my being outside more to hear them better when temperatures rise. Those little creatures make such a resounding racket every March and April. Woodpeckers aside, this weekend we acknowledge the vernal equinox with litanies that celebrate the movement from cold to warm. And we recognize that the linchpin of this is spring. Yesterday, March 20th, at 4:37 a.m. in our time zone, spring came to the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, the March equinox marks the start of autumn, while the September equinox ushers in spring. For those of us on the north half of this planet, we are now tilted more toward the sun's light and warmth than away from it. As Earth and atmosphere reorient, it gives us humans a push to shift as well. What moves for us, seasonally or otherwise? What are we balancing more or less or differently these days? What are our rhythms and why? My balance is shifting in ways I couldn't have anticipated even last spring. For example, I'm suddenly not sure if I've thanked you enough. I need you to know that this is a good ministry I have gotten to share with you. More shift will happen as and after I depart. For some among us, the movement of my leaving might cause major imbalance. And for others, it will be a quiet settling, barely worth mentioning. There is no right or wrong. Only the opportunity to notice that we, like the seasons of our planet home, are all constantly given the gift and challenge to wobble and flex and find balance, and to be balanced. May we find both movement and stability to help hold it all as together we move forward toward summer. May it always be so. Dear ones, I find myself so touched by your kindness. Thank you for all the words that you've typed to me just now this morning and all the emails and phone calls I've gotten to share with you this week. It's been an unexpectedly emotional blessing. Here we are in March, celebrating summer by looking ahead. And we're also looking all the way back to summers long since gone. Before we know it, summer will be with us again. Type what you appreciate about summer into the chat now, and I will read some comments aloud. Shade, hammock time, swimming in the pond, sandals, backyard gatherings, no school, biking, gardens, bird song, bare feet, popsicles, we like popsicles in our family, real strawberries, sun on my skin, flowers, cherry picking. Thank you, summer, for your many gifts. We aren't quite ready for you yet, but look forward to your being here with us soon.
Sharing our individual joys and concerns helps us to collectively grow resilience. Connection looks a little different in a virtual world, but it is still available. So if you'd like to share whatever is on your mind or in your heart right now, you can type your joy or concern into our chat box. That way we can hold space for and with you as we worship. And if you'd like your news included in our weekly care email that goes out this afternoon to members and friends who have asked to receive it, then you can go ahead and email Reverend Leah or fill out our website form. We'll drop that information into the chat box. After this service, a member of the care team is going to host a breakout room for anyone who would like to process their life's joy or concern, or anything especially tender that might be present with you in general or today. You'll hear more instructions about breakout rooms during our closing words. All are invited. We always welcome you to be in touch if you would like to connect with me or any of our ministers or a member of our wonderful care team. And now let us breathe into this shared silence and join together in our sung response.
And we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a need to be together. We have our hearts to give, we have our thoughts to receive, and we believe that sharing is an answer.
This month, we're focusing on balance. And so now, as we take part in our morning offering, I invite you to consider the balance between what you have and what you can offer. Each of us have different circumstances and situations, and sometimes we are more able to give, and sometimes we need to be able to receive. This balance between giving and receiving is a spiritual practice, and we invite you to participate. Just because our offerings are virtual, they are no less real, and we need your support. We know that there are always those among us who are in need. We are here to help. It is why we exist as a fellowship, to be here for you when you need us. Please don't hesitate to reach out to any of the ministers if you are in need of financial or emotional support so we can offer help. We also want to honor those among us who have been left relatively unscathed by the crisis of recent months and have resources to offer. Our community is gathering virtually, but our expenses are real. I invite you, if you have never donated to the fellowship or haven't in a while, to please do so that our ministries might be able to continue and for the months and years to come. As you hear these words from Doug and Marty Wheeler, think about why you are a part of the fellowship and why you give, and then please do. Thank you.
Hello, I am Marty Wheeler.
And I'm Doug Wheeler.
And here are two of the many reasons why we have been and continue to be a part of the fellowship.
It is both a good theological fit for my belief structure, and it is a community of good people that I enjoy being part of. Over the years, the fellowship, through both giving and receiving, has nurtured myself and my family in many ways.
The fellowship gives me hope for our future. While we may not always get it right, we do continue to learn and grow, showing people can work together to support one another and to help make our world better.
As we start to wind down our worship this morning, I invite us to place a hand either on our belly or on our heart, or maybe both. And take a few breaths with me. Feel the air coming in. Feel the air going out. How does that feel? For me, that made me feel calm. Now let's check in with our body. Are there any places that maybe don't feel good? Maybe there's a part of your body that hurts, or muscles that feel tight, or maybe like they need to move. Let's take some time to give that part of our bodies just a little love. Do this with me if you're able. Let's rub our hands together. I'm starting to feel a little bit of warmth between my hands. Do you feel that warmth? Let's imagine that warmth that we feel is love. Now that we've got that love and that warmth between our hands, let's bring it to a part of us that needs to feel a little bit better. Maybe that means giving your shoulders a little bit of a massage. Maybe it means placing your hands over your heart, on your chest. Maybe for you, it means rubbing your head. Let's keep treating our bodies with this kind of tenderness as we listen to this lullaby offered by Steve.
Come sleep, and with thy sweetest sleeping, lock me in delight awhile. Let some pleasing dream beguile all my fancies, that from thence I may feel an influence all my powers of care though but a shadow, but a sliding, let me know some little joy. With that suffer long and loyal contented with a thought through an idle fancy wrought. Or that my choice has
As we come to the end of our service, we will put out our chalice flame, even as we still hold its light in our hearts. As we extinguish this flame, let us go our ways with hope in our hearts, with spirits renewed, and with a deeper understanding of life's mystery. Let us carry the light of compassion and commitment to build a better world.
After our closing words, we will have small breakout groups for conversation. If you don't want to participate in a small group conversation, then please use our postlude, which will happen in a moment, to leave Zoom. If you choose to stay, you will get to choose your own breakout room. There are 5 options. One group for newcomers, with our Director of Congregational Life, Marie Luna. If you're a new visitor or recent friend, stop by just to say hello and be welcomed. One group will be with me for anyone who might like to talk about the service, my upcoming departure, or anything else. One group will be with Dave Velguth, today's worship leader, for a deeper conversation on the theme of balance. One group will be with a member of our care team, for anyone who might like a gentle space to share about whatever joy or concern is present with you today. And one final group will be for unmoderated chit-chat. If you have any trouble selecting the option you want, just stay here in the main room and Adam will help. May you leave this service with the balance of spring awakening within you. May you go in peace, knowing that this community of embrace will always hold you.